bought your dream house and they will come to live there tomorrow," a little boy said to a beautiful girl named Wan who was playing with him in front of her small home, while Wan stopped and looked at the little cute boy. "Really?" The little kid nodded his head while Wan looked at a big house beside her small home and pouted a little. "That's said, Mio. Mio is Wan's neighbor who's 5-year-old. Don't worry, when you graduate and get work, you can buy a bigger house than this one." She hummed in response and let out a sigh. "Okay, then you go home and I have an exam tomorrow, so I need to study." "Okay, Nini, bye." Wine nodded her head and Mio ran from there to his house after hugging Wine tightly, who smiled and went inside her house. So she is Wine, an orphan. She grew up in an orphanage, but after high school, when she joined college, she bought this small house for herself, which is near her college. She bought this house from her part-time job earnings, but she is studying in one of the top universities because of scholarship, and she is really good in studies. She is the topper in her university. Next day, Wan was walking to her class hurriedly while reading some notes and eating her pancakes. It seemed like she was late today and didn't get time to eat anything, so she bought pancakes from the shop near her college. She was walking hurriedly, so she did not notice a handsome man walking toward her, while he was also busy on his phone, so he did not notice Wan either. Both closed their eyes in irritation when they bumped into each other, and Wan's pancakes and the main phones both fell on the floor. "What the?" she said irritatedly while looking at the pancakes, and the man was also looking at his phone. "My phone," saying that, he looked up at the beautiful girl who was looking down with a little pot, and not gonna lie, she looked like an angel. One also looked up at the handsome man standing in front of her looking at her. "What the hell did you do? Do not you have any eyes, idiot?" she said while grinning at the man who raised his eyebrow. "Did you just call me an idiot?" He pointed at himself. "Yes, so? Do you know who I am? I do not care who you are, but I want my pancakes now." The man looked down at the pancakes and picked up his phone from the floor, then checked if anything happened to it. "See, my phone glass is also broken. Oh, that's really nice." She fake smiled while the man just stared at Wine with a blank face. "You want your pancakes, right? Yes. Take them from the floor and eat them." "Fucking bastard," saying that, she walked away glaring at the man who was also looking at Wine with a blank face. Wine ran to her class, seeing the principal coming her way. While the man was staring at the direction she ran in, he looked at the principal when the principal stood in front of him. "Mr. Jeon, you are still here?" "Mr. Jeon is Jungkook, the new professor of the university." "Yes, sir, I was going. I'll be joining tomorrow." He bowed slightly at the principal, who smiled while patting Jungkook's shoulder. In the evening, "Why is dead grandma looking at us?" Wan and me were playing in front of Wine's house, but look at the grandma standing in front of the big house next to Wine's, staring at them with a smile. "I do not know." "Continue, dear. I was just watching," said to Wine, who smiled a little and bowed to the grandma. "Nice to meet you. Call me grandma." "No worries." "Okay, grandma." Grandma smiled at me. "You are so cute." "He is, but my Nini is cutest." "Nini?" "Oh, it's me, Wine, but he called me Nini." "That's so sweet." She smiled. "And this is Mio. He lives in that house." She pointed at the house on the other side of hers. "Oh, so you are staying here, dear?" "Yes." The grandma smiled. "Grandma, play with us too." "Oh, no, baby. I will just watch." "Then come sit here." She pointed at the bench near them while the grandma smiled, walking toward them, and Wine and Mio also smiled. Jungkook entered his new house and directly went to the kitchen to drink some water, thinking his grandma would be in the kitchen since he did not see her in the living room. He raised his eyebrow when he entered the kitchen, seeing the same girl he bumped today in college now standing in the kitchen in his house, cooking something and talking to his grandma, who was sitting on the chair with a smile. Also, there was a little boy sitting on the kitchen counter enjoying ice cream. You? Hearing the voice, the three of them looked at Jungkook while one raised her eyebrows upon seeing him. You? What are you doing here? She looked at Jungkook with a surprised face while Jungkook looked at one with a blank face. I need to ask you this. What are you doing here in my house? Your house? She chuckled but immediately stopped, then looked at Grandma. Your grandson? Grandma nodded her head confusedly while one was surprised. The new professor in my college? Grandma nodded again while one winded her eyes a little and then looked at Jungkook, who was still standing there staring at her with a blank face. Wine gulped, then forcefully smiled at Jungkook, who kept staring at her with an emotionless face. Wine bit her lips, then turned off the stove. I think it's already ready. Oh, then let's eat. Wine shook her head. I'm not hungry, Grandma. You have this. But you said you were hungry. Not anymore. Let's go. She picked me up from the kitchen counter. I want to eat kimchi. Nini make it so tasty, he said with a small pout. I will make it for you at my house. Let's go. One hurriedly walked out after bowing to Grandma without even glancing at Jungkook, not giving Grandma a chance to say anything. What happened to her suddenly? She looked confused but turned to her grandson when he chuckled a little. What are you laughing about? Do you know her? Wine from before? Wine. Her name is Wine, he asked as he walked over to his grandma, who nodded her hand. Yes, her name is Wine. Oh, he smiled a little while Grandma raised her eyebrow. Why are you smiling like an idiot? Hearing idiot, Jungkook smiled even more. Because she bumped into me in the morning and crossed me, not knowing I was her professor. Hearing this, Grandma also smiled. Really? Jungkook nodded his hand. She is so cute, Jungkook nodded in agreement. But why she was here? She lives next to us and I just meet those two in the evening. I really like them. They are so sweet and cheerful. Who is that little boy to her? Her neighbor, but they have a really cute bond. I also noted that he smiled. Wine was sitting in her class while talking to her best friends Lena and Minho. Minho's habits are like sugar. Ush, Minho, wake up. Why are you sleeping this morning? Because I'm sleepy. Wine shook her hands and then looked at Lena. Why is your boyfriend like this? You know, he is always like this, shook her head. Come on, you are the one who did not let me sleep yesterday. While asking for more, Lena looked at Minho with a little glare. You are the one who was begging to do it more, you hungry cat. Wine looked at her best friends with a dawn face as she was used to hearing such things. You both have no shame actually, shook her head. It's not our fault you do not have any boyfriend. That's right, Wine. How long are you going to live this single life? So find someone for yourself. I am here. Look at the handsome man who is their new English professor. Yes, it is Jungkook, who just entered the class. The class becomes silent and Wine also looked in the direction but immediately hid her face with her notes. Everyone stood up from their seat, including Lena, but Minho and Wine sat there, hiding themselves behind the classmates who were standing in front of them. Good morning, sir, everyone said. Good morning, I'll sit down. The student did what their professor said, while Wine went under the desk and looked at Lena, who was confused by her best friend's action. How do you know he is the new professor? Whispered. You forgot the principal introduced him yesterday, Wine informed. She was late yesterday and came after that. Jungkook looked in their direction, hearing the whispering sounds. What's going on there? Everyone looked at the last bench where Lena and Minho were sitting. You two, stand up. Our Lena and Minho stood up from the bench looking at Jungkook. Be silent in my class, and I do not like to repeat my words, he strictly said, while Wine laughed out, looking at her best friends, making fun of them. Lina glared at Wine while Minho smirked a little. Actually, Wine was the one who started the conversation. Wine's smile immediately vanished, then she gulped while Jungkook raised his eyebrow hearing the familiar name. Wine? Yes, Wine, come out, sir is calling you. Smirked a little, looking under the desk, while Wine cursed her best friends in her mind, glaring at them. Jungkook also went to the back bench and raised his eyebrows, seeing Wine sitting under the table, glaring at her friends. So she is in this class. What are you doing here? He asked with a blank face while Wine jumped a little in her spot, and because of that her head hit the desk. She closed her eyes tightly while Jungkook bit his lips, preventing himself from smiling. Lina and Minho laughed and immediately stopped when Jungkook looked at them with raised eyebrow. Sorry sir, you are going to stay there? Wine looked at Jungkook with an embarrassed face. I do not have time to waste on you, so come out immediately. I need to start class, he coldly said. Did I say you need to waste your time on me? Just go back already, mumbled to herself while coming out from under the desk and stood up from on her feet, while Jungkook raised his eyebrows. Did you say something? Of course he heard that, while one fake smiled at Jungkook and shook her head. No sir. Sit down. Wine was about to sit but stopped when, not you. He looked at Lina and Minho. You two sit down. Lina and Minho sat down on the bench immediately while Wine looked at Jungkook with a questioning face. You go and sit on the front bench. Sir, I will not talk anymore. Promise. I will not even open my mouth. Jungkook just stared at Wine with a blank face. Did I ask you? No, right? Do what I said, he strictly said while Wine let out a big sigh and took her back and notes from her table, glaring deadly at her friends who were just looking down at the desk, knowing Wine must be looking at them with fire in her eyes. After taking her bag and notes, Wine went to the front bench while Jungkook also followed her. You need to sit here in my classes, he said when Wine sat down on the front bench. Wine didn't say anything, just nodded her head while looking down at her notes. Jungkook then went on to start his classes. In the lunch break, why me? Ash, what's his problem? Such an idiot he is. She was continuously cursing her new professor for the past few minutes while Lina and Minho were just having their lunch, listening to their best friends with an uninterested face. Because it had already been 10 minutes and Wine was continuously saying the same things. Ash, Wine, enough. He is our professor. So, I do not like that idiot professor. Yeah, we got it. Please stop. Wine let out a big sigh, then started drinking her strawberry milkshake with an irritated face. Still, how dare he put the glass on the table with a loud thud. Lina and Minho looked at her with a down face. Come on, Wine, just forget about that cold mean. If he was in front of me now, I would punch him in the face. Mine? Wine startled a little hearing the voice, while Lina and Minho were also surprised when Jungkook came and stood in front of them all of a sudden. Wine gulped down, then looked at Jungkook with a fake sweet smile, while Jungkook wanted to smile, understanding how fake that smile was. What, sir? I thought you were talking about me. No, sir. How can I talk about you like that? Shook her head, while Lina and Minho controlled their laugh, seeing their friend's situation. Oh, nodded his head. Do you want something, sir? Jungkook shook his head. Take it. Placed chocolate on the table before walking away, while Wine confusedly looked at the chocolate, then looked at Jungkook walking back, and again looked at the chocolate on the table, while Lina and Minho also looked at each other with raised eyebrow. What is this? You don't know? It's chocolate. I know that, okay? Glared at her friends while they smiled. Why is he giving this to me? I also don't know. I think he is interested in you. Wine raised her eyebrows. Are you mad? No, I noticed the way he continues gazing at you while taking the class. Oh right, I also noticed that. It because he wanted to scold me if I do something wrong. Shook her head, Whatever, if you do not want it, then I will take it. Was about to take the dead chocolate, but before she could do that, one already took it. You really think I will give you this after what you guys did to me in the morning? One glared at her best friends while putting the chocolate in her pant pocket, and Minho and Lena shook their heads, while one smiled a little, saying, "One actually take the chocolate and walk away." It's already evening, and Jungkook stopped his car in front of his home, then came out from the car and walked toward his house, but stopped hearing the loud giggling sound. He looked in the direction while a smile formed on his lips, seeing Wayne playing football with a little boy in the front of his house. He stood there staring at the beautiful view of Wayne smiling widely. "What are you looking at?" asked, seeing Jungkook standing there smiling alone. When she came out from the house after hearing Jungkook's car, "Look at a beautiful soul." Grandma also looked in the direction and smiled, seeing Wayne and the little boy, but raised her eyebrow at her grandson. "Why are you looking at her like this?" Jungkook just shook his head with a smile before walking inside his house, while Grandma smiled. "God, you really hate me? You finally made my grandson fall in love?" Excited all of a sudden, she looked at Wayne, who also looked at her and waved her hand, showing her bright smile. "Grandma, let's play!" shouted. "Come on, Grandma!" he also shouted, while Grandma smiled, then shook her head and signaled them to continue with her hands. Wayne and Mew smiled, then continued playing after nodding their heads, and Grandma stared at Wayne. "Wayne is really beautiful and a good girl, like a perfect match for my grandson. So God, please do not make it hard for my cook. It is his first love." Smiled, then went inside with her happy heart, really happy seeing the emotion in Jungkook's eyes for the first time for someone. At night, in Wayne's room, Wayne was sitting in her bed and writing down some notes while wearing her glasses. Finally, she was done with the notes, and then let out a big sigh and was about to stand, but stopped when her eyes fell on the chocolate that her professor gave her during the lunch break. "Maybe he felt bad after scolding me. That's why he gave me this." Nodded to herself. "He is not that bad actually. He even gave me this. Take the chocolate. I should forgive him," she said to herself while nodding her head in agreement and smiled a little, then started eating the chocolate with a smile on her lips. Next day, Jungkook was walking through the hallway with his usual poker face, but stopped, and a smile formed on his lips, seeing Wayne walking toward him while looking at her notes, and Jungkook intentionally walked toward Wayne while they both bumped into each other, and Wayne closed her eyes attentively. "Do not you have any eyes, idiot?" yelled a little while looking at a person who was standing in front of her, but immediately covered her mouth, seeing Jungkook, who was standing there while staring at her with a blank face. "What?" "Nothing, sir," shook her head. "Speak after removing your hand from your mouth, because I am not understanding." Wayne immediately did what Jungkook said, then bowed to him. "Nothing, sir. I was an idiot, so I was scolding myself like I do not have any eyes. Why am I like this? Why do I walk like this without looking around, right?" "Yeah, that's right." One fake smile at Jungkook, who was just looking at her continuously without even blinking his eye, while one raised her eyebrows. "Is something on my face?" Touched her face, seeing the way Jungkook continuously stared at her. But Jungkook did not say anything, just continued checking out Wayne's facial features, like those beautiful brown eyes and the nose, those lips, the jawlines. Everything was just perfect, while Wayne felt her heart started beating really fast, seeing the way Jungkook looked at her intensely. "I am late." She literally ran from there, feeling a little awkward, while Jungkook smiled, then shook his head before walking from there. After some time, Wayne was chit-chatting with her friends with a smile on her face. "So, what is our next class?" "English." Wayne's smiles vanished, knowing the next class is Jungkook's, and he will be there here soon. What the hell, is she feeling nervous all of a sudden? "Where are you lost?" Wayne let out a big sigh, then shook her head. "So it's time for me to go to the front bench?" Sadly, yes. Wayne potted a little, then stood up from her seat, Bye guys, saying that she went to the front bench and sat there. Jungkook entered the class all of a sudden, and the first thing he did was glance at Won, who was sporting while looking down in her book but stood up from her seat when everyone did the same. Won was talking toward the canteen while talking with her friend, but her smile was gone as she felt her heart start beating really fast seeing Jungkook walking toward them. Good afternoon, Mr. Jung, saying that she bowed to Jungkook when he stood up in front of them, while Minho and Hwan also bowed a little to Jungkook, who nodded his head. Afternoon, saying that he forwarded a chocolate to Wine, who confusedly looked at Jungkook, and Lena and Minho looked at each other with little smirk. But sir, why are you giving this to me? I already forgive you. Jungkook raised his eyebrow. Did I something wrong for you to forgive me? Lena and Minho chuckled while one looked confused but forcefully smiled at Jungkook. No, you didn't. Then one let out a sigh, then took that chocolate from Jungkook's hand and bowed a little. Thank you, sir. Immediately walked from there while crushing Jungkook in her mind, and Minho also followed Wine while Lena also followed them. After bowing to Jungkook, who turned around and smiled a little while staring at Wine, walking back, then walked from there. Now we confirmed what? He likes you. Wine stopped walking, then looked at her best friends with a disbelieving face. What the hell, guys? He's our professor. So he's so young. He is only 4 years older than us and looking perfect as well. That's right. He is really handsome. One thought for a second but immediately shook her head. Ash, don't assume anything. Let's go. Walk from there while Lena and Minho also followed her with a dawn face. 1 month already passed like this and nothing changed between Wine Cook. Like Jungkook gives Wine chocolate every day, also adores her secretly, while Wine also noticed the way Jungkook always glances at her when Jungkook is around her, like she even thought her friends told her it was true. Dear professor really like her? No, how can he like a stupid low-class girl like her? On the other side, Jungkook's grandma and Wine get along with each other really well, while Wine often went to Jungkook's home when Jungkook was not in his house because she is really nervous and always feels her heart will come out soon when Jungkook is around her, while Jungkook enjoys the way Wine is getting all nervous around him. Next class is Jungkook, so Wine stood up from her seat and was about to go to the front bench, but she stopped when the beautiful girl named Ria stood in front of her, who just joined their class today only. Do you want something? Asked with a blank face. Yes, my friend said you always sit on the front bench when it's Jungkook's class. Jungkook? He is our professor, so give him some respect. Also, how did you know Mr. Jeon? You just joined today? Yeah, but I already saw him in the morning and I fell in love, so you stay away from him. Also, I will sit on the front bench from now on so he can see my beautiful face clearly. Wine raised her eyebrows, and why is she feeling angry about it? She wanted to sit in the back seat, right? Then what happened now? Wine shook her head at her thoughts. Mr. Jun made me sit there, so I am sorry. Was about to go, but Ria held her hand. I will talk to my love, so don't worry. Walked to the front bench while Wine glared at her, clenching her fist. Ashwine, come and sit here. Yes, you always complain about sitting on the front bench, but now you actually want to sit on the front bench. Wine let out a big sigh, then sat beside Lena while putting her bag on the desk with a loud thud. What happened? What? Why did she come to our college and fall in love with Mr. Jun? Seriously? Oh, come on, Mr. Jun will never fall for her. I know. She said this all while glaring at her bag and Minho smiled. You are jealous? Lena also smiled, hearing her boyfriend. You feel the same? One looked at her friends. Why should I be jealous? Because of the thought she will become close to Mr. Jun. I don't care. Yeah, we can see that. One just shook her head but stood up from her seat like everyone when Jungkook entered the class. While the first thing Jungkook did was looking for Wine, but he stopped and raised his eyebrow, seeing someone else is sitting in Wine's seat. So his eyes directly went to the last bench and saw Wine sitting there. While Wine's heart skipped when their eyes met with each other and immediately looked down at her desk while Jungkook let out a sigh, then looked at Rhea, who stood up from their seat. Hello, Mr. Jeon. I am new admission, bowed to Jungkook. Jungkook nodded his head while his eye again went to Wine, who was still looking down. Wine, hearing the cold voice, Wine closed her eyes tightly, then clenched on her shirt to calm down her fast-racing heartbeat, then stood up from her seat and took a deep breath before looking at Jungkook. Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you to sit here on the front bench in my classes? Wine nodded her head. I was going to sit there, but she said she sat there, saying you need to sit there. So you will give your place to someone else if they needed it. Why does that hurt Wine? Minho and Lina also looked at Wine. I do not think he is only talking about the place in the class, whispered, while Lina also nodded her head and Wine shook her head. No, sir, actually, cut off by JK. Come and sit here. Wine nodded her head immediately and took her back before walking to the front bench while Rhea clenched her jaw. But sir, I want to sit here so I can concentrate on the class. Sit there, pointed at the second bench. Sir, miss, I do not like to repeat my words, coldly said, but only looked at Wine with his blank face, who was looking down. Rhea let out a sigh disappointedly, went to the second bench and sat there, while Wine sat on the front bench. Then looked at Jungkook, who was already staring at her, but Jungkook raised his eyebrow, seeing the little teary eyes of Wine, while Wine herself didn't know why she was feeling bad. Sir, you can start the class, said, seeing Jungkook looking at each other, and Wine looked down, while Jungkook also went to take his class.